Good morning, good morning. Time for another mentor session. Shawn here, and let's get this thing started. The first question comes from Ricardo. And hopefully I'm live. Welcome. Okay, let's get this started. Mentor session here with Shawn. First question comes from Ricardo, and Ricardo says, where should I build my website so customers and future employees can see what we do? I see websites where people can apply for jobs. How and where should I start with this? The background is I have a barber shop and I want to build a great website to showcase our brand and also have recruits apply for positions. Thanks. I've got 6 other mentors answering this for you. So here's my answer, and then you'll get an email with all of the other mentors answering your question on their mentor session. If you watch in the 4 pillars branding Zoom recordings that I've already done, you'll know that the first thing starts with creating a strategy. Then you go to design, then you go to design as far as your brand identity kit, logos, emblems, symbols, icons, fonts, and all that stuff. And then you go into your messaging, which is your website. When you're going to build in your website, there is a process to go through in order to be ready to speak with a website designer who is going to build your website. I can introduce you to Patty, who is our graphic designer for AO, but there's also another person I could introduce you to as well who could do your website. Depending on the complexity and the features that you want on your website, that will dictate how much it's going to cost to build your website. You want to work with somebody who can find out what you want to accomplish. And then what I recommend is going out onto the web and finding somewhere between 3 to 5 different websites that you like and features within those websites where you can show a designer that this is what I like. Then they will know how to build that for you. This is kind of that same rip off and duplicate type of strategy. Why have to reinvent the wheel when there's already people that have paid big bucks to get their websites done, and you can go and show your designer that I want this done. It's easier and less expensive as far as time is concerned when you can show your web designer exactly what you want, and then they can implement your brand colors and identity kit into that website. As a barber, I know that you can use software platforms like Vagaro to do your appointments where people can book a style and a cut with you. I don't know if Vagaro can be implemented within, say, a WordPress website, which would give you unlimited design capabilities. That's one of the challenges sometimes that is limited with certain website platforms is functionality. And a good website designer can probably work with you to see how you can overcome that. But you probably don't want to lose the booking feature of Vagaro. My thoughts are maybe you create a website in WordPress, and then when somebody's ready to book a job with you, they click the book it button and it takes them to your Vagaro booking website. And there's some ways to design it where it can be done possibly right within your website through frames and what have you. I would work with a designer, Ricardo, and I can put you in touch with a couple where you can get some quotes, okay? The next question comes from Ashley, and Ashley says, I have a 3,000 square foot open mat space to use during the day, trying to figure out how to use it the best. The background is I'm partnering with coworkers at a martial arts gym, and we are trying to bring in different revenue streams, use the facility to its full potential. Right now it's empty from 9 a.m. to about 3 p.m. It is an A-plus prime location in a wealthy neighborhood right off the highway in the same place as Costco. I've got a bunch of other mentors. Almost all of our mentors, I'm going to share some ideas with you, Ashley, to see if they can come up with something that can help you. One of the things I'm thinking is, what about other sports types of things, sports trainers, yoga instructors, where they can use your place for holding yoga, stretching, anything fitness related, since it's already a fitness facility. So anything fitness related, see if there's some possibilities there where you rent it out, where people can say, hey, I can come run a yoga class there and charge people like a group rate and what have you. So that's kind of my first thought. Yeah, I don't know what people could do on a gym mat, but that's the only one I could think of. Maybe there's going to be some other ideas that can come from the other mentors. Okay, the next question comes from Nico, and Nico says, should I send money from my personal checking account to my business account to show income, knowing I will be transferring it back to my personal account to pay for living expenses? The background is I have a personal Venmo account tied to my personal checking account. My income comes from my video editing, and my client pays me through Venmo. I am not sure if transferring money from a personal account to a business account will show up as income for my LLC, and if it's even worth it, because I will have to transfer it right back. Any thoughts on using a Venmo business account? I've got a bunch of other mentors answering this for you, about 6 or 7 mentors. 2 of them are in the accounting space and financial space. I don't know the exact answer to this. I would certainly talk to my bookkeeper. If you have a quality bookkeeper, Nico, which you should, if you don't, shoot me an email right now, Shawn@askamillionaire.com. Get a bookkeeper. You always want to have a relationship with a bookkeeper and an accountant to ask questions like this. You would have the answer within 2 minutes, and they would tell you what you need to do, and you're off to the races. If you don't have a bookkeeper for a small business is going to be no more than $300 to $500 a month. And that's going to include doing your LLC tax return and your personal tax return. You're going to pay that to an accountant probably anyways, but get your bookkeeping included with it. So send me an email if you don't have somebody already, okay, Nico? My guess is that you do need to have your clients paying you directly to your or to your business checking account to make sure that it gets qualified in your LLC as far as your small business income. But I would definitely talk to your bookkeeper. I would certainly have any money coming in from any client go through your LLC. Okay, that's what I would do. Okay, the next question comes from Kristen, and Kristen says, what is the goal and timeline to start paying yourself an income out of your business? The background is I am in need of help setting up a net profit goal structure to follow. I'm in the apparel wholesale business. I am a startup. I just had my first test market, and this next coming up season will be my first true season in business. I am investing every penny into my startup and have no issue continuing that for as many years as needed. I want to lay out a timeline and goals to look forward to, a rough outline if there is one. Thank you so much. I've got about 12 other mentors answering this for you. I have never heard of and don't believe that there's ever a timeline that would fit every business as far as what you're looking for. It just doesn't exist. You have to create that for yourself. As a small business owner myself, I want to make profit as fast as possible, like the first month. Depending on the business, that's going to tell me how fast I can start moving product and collecting sales. Here's an idea that I have for you in your business, Kristen. What is stopping you from taking all of your designs that you have for your apparel and going on a road show and meeting with every golf pro club in the nation to try to get them to carry your apparel? What's stopping you from doing that? I mean, you got travel expenses, of course, but welcome to being a business owner. If it were me and I sold apparel in golf club pro shops, I would want to be creating relationships just like Izod, Ralph Lauren, Nike, and all the others do. I would want to create relationships with every single golf club pro shop that I could in the country, if not the world. But let's start with the United States first. And maybe you start with the Southeast region first. You got all the Florida, you've got Georgia, you've got South Carolina, North Carolina. You've got plenty of golf club or golf pro shops for you to call on. And all you need is a great bag to carry around all your sample items and go build those relationships. Call them on the phone, let them know when you're going to be in their territory, and go on a road show. That way, you don't need a lot of money in inventory to start off. You could take your samples, go get purchase orders with deposits, and then you'd have the money to go ahead and order all of the inventory to fill the orders for the pro shops. Food for thought. I would love to hear you jump on a Zoom and talk to me and other mentors about how to do that. If you go out and you get a ton of orders, even if they're not willing to give you a deposit or pay for it in advance, that's basically an accounts receivable. If you get a contract, a purchase order, you could find an investor easily who would loan you the money to go ahead and pay for your inventory, get your inventory in, and then when your customer pays, it would come to the investor, and the investor would get their money back plus their interest, and then they would pay you the rest. There's plenty of investment dollars like that out there. I used it. There are companies doing that every single day. Okay, you don't need a lot of capital for that, and that way you can actually make a lot more profit quicker as well. But to answer your question, I want to make profit in my business as fast as possible. I don't want to use some formula. I want to just say, what can I do from a sales and marketing perspective to start pushing profitable sales revenue as fast as possible? And then tracking those activities and then tracking the numbers each and every month of what I'm making. I don't think there's an outline that exists like you're asking. The next question comes from Kristen. And Kristen says, what is a successful margin look like from gross profit to net profit in a business? Does it vary business to business? What should the goal be? The background is I work for my dad's company to eventually take over for him, and I also have my own startup business. My dad goes over his company P&L with me when I make 20% of the net profit of his company. I'm confused there. Looking at the gross profit versus net profit, I'm not sure what a good profit margin would be. He says his business is great and very profitable. My initial reaction that I kept to myself, of course, was, wow, that's it for net profit? After all that money spent, is it even worth it? What's a good profit margin goal? Thank you. I've got about 12 mentors answering this one for you. The general rule of thumb is that if your net profit is somewhere between 15% to 25%, you are doing very well. It also depends on the volume of the business. Let's just put it to you this way. Let's say you were doing $1 million in annual sales, and you had a 15% net profit margin after expenses, right? Well, that's $150,000. But if you had a $10 million business doing a 10% margin, that's $1 million. Would you rather make $1 million or $150,000? So it's really more about the volume that you're doing while also paying attention to the margin. It's a combination of everything. The answer always is we want to make as much margin as we can. When we manufacture a product and we sell it, the market is going to let us know what the value is to the marketplace. And in apparel and things like that, it's not like you're going to be able to mark something up by 5,000%. Some items can be marked up hundreds and hundreds of percent, like for instance, wine. A restaurant is going to buy a wine for $50 and they're going to mark it up 300% sometimes. Because that's how they make a lot of their money is on actual wine and alcohol, right? And beverages as opposed to food. Food has a much lower margin, which is why they have to make it up by charging you $3.50 for an iced tea that costs them 10 cents, right? Every business is different, but you do want to maintain, generally speaking, and it does vary industry to industry, you want to be at least at 15 to 18%. And if you're higher than that, that's great. Then you want to start working on your top line revenue. Okay. Hope that helps. We've got a bunch of other mentors answering that for you. So I'm sure there's going to be some good answers with that. The next question comes from Joe. And Joe says, how do I determine what KPIs to set up for a new marketing rep I am bringing on so I can track activities? The background is I own a home inspection company in Naples, Florida, and need to bring on a marketing rep to grow my business. They will do outreach to spheres of influence like real estate brokerages, etc., to try and get them to send their property inspections to us as opposed to current vendors. I want to track results. How would you go about doing that? I've got about 10 or so mentors answering this one for you, Joe. What I like to do with any position that I'm going to hire is before I hire them, I want to think about as though I were doing their job on a daily basis. If I was doing their job on a daily basis, what would that look like? And I want to document that. I want to put together all of the trainings from telephone scripts to sales pitch or marketing pitch to answering objections and so forth so that they know what to say, how to say it, etc. The next thing is I would get them, if it's a marketing / sales role, if you will, I would get them using my CRM, and I would want to track how many phone calls they're making per day, how many appointments they're making per day, how many appointments they're on per day. And I'd like to see maybe a weekly report that I could go into if I wanted to, which I would in the very beginning. I would want to see a weekly report of the result of the actual appointments that they're going on with prospects. What did they say? Where did they leave it? What are the next steps? What's the follow-up? And all those types of things, just so I can have a good interaction with that marketing rep to find out if there's anything I can do to help, anything that I can do to provide some additional training, but it also keeps me up to date with what they're doing. If I know by doing their job first, how many calls they can make, how many appointments they can make, how many appointments they can go on during the day, etc., then I can tell them this is how many you should do, and then I can keep track of that through my CRM software through activities. That's what I would do. And then I would then match that with what type of additional outcome from a revenue perspective and job perspective are we getting now that we hired that person on. For instance, if I hire a marketing rep and I say, within the first 30 days, I'd like to see you, let's say, for instance, you're going to pay them $5,000 a month of salary and you make $500 in inspection. Well, then it would be great if you could get at least a bump of 15 inspections per month, correct? So you might say, listen, I understand it's going to take you some time to fill up your pipeline. The goal is that within the first 90 days, you are helping Joe the Home Pro bring on an additional 15 inspections per month. You know that if you bring on just 15 inspections per month, you're going to be making $7,500 a month, $1,500 a month more profit. This is just an example. You can make it 20, 30, whatever you want to do. Obviously, the more the merrier, but you at least want to break even. So you could say within the first 90 days, based on year over year, I want to be increasing by 15 or 20 per month. So I'm going to give you 90 days ramp up for you to hit that goal of a minimum of 15 or 20 new inspections per month. If we get to 15 or 20 or whatever arbitrary number you want to use, you could say, after we have an additional year over year 20 new or 25 new inspections per month, I will start giving you an incentive bonus per month or per quarter based on that increased year over year success. And that's what I would do if it were me. All right. You got a bunch of other mentors answering this for you, and I can't wait to hear what they have to say. All right. And that is today's mentor session. If any of this session inspires you to ask another question, you can go into the mobile app, click the bottom right-hand button in the mobile app and click ask a question, or you can just go straight into the portal. All right. Hope you have a great day, morning or night, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you soon. Peace out.